Algebra 2, we're going to continue on with something called the rational zero theorem. So sometimes you don't have access to a graphing program, and sometimes you have to start from scratch to figure out where does this graph cross the x-axis, or what are my possible solutions. So this rational zero theorem helps you narrow down some possibilities. It says that you can find your solutions or your zeros if you use this P over Q formula. It says P is the constant, so that's my P, and Q is a factor of the leading coefficient. So there's an invisible 1 there. So that means that Q is 1. So we write my possible factors as a ratio of P over Q. So my P is 2 and my Q is 1. And negatives don't matter in this scenario. So here's what you do. We're going to write all the factors of 2 in the numerator. So plus and minus 1 and plus and minus 2. These are the factors, and the coefficients of 1 are just 1. So then what we're going to do is you pair every term in the numerator with every term in the denominator. So this one's easy. 1 divided by 1 is plus or minus 1. That is one possible factor, or 2 rather. And then we take 2 divided by 1, which is just 2. So here are our possible factors that we have. Let's keep going over to Desmos today. So if we flip over to Desmos, there we go. I've already input this equation in there. And so Desmos looks like it's crossing right here at -2. So -2 should be a factor. It also looks like it's crossing here at -1. And it also looks like it's crossing at +1. So these are my possible factors, and now I'm going to use synthetic division to verify that these are my 3 factors. So I always start with 1. Do I need any filler zeros? No. So I'm going to list my coefficients. And then I'm going to do synthetic division. Bring it down, multiply, add, multiply, add. Okay, how about that's a 3? And that's a 2. And multiply and add. There we go, that's better. And so it equals 0, so -1 is definitely a factor. 1x squared plus 3x plus 2 equals 0. So then once you get it down to a quadratic, then we're just going to factor it to finish it off. So when I make my ACB chart, I want factors of 2 that add up to 3. So I can use 1 and 2. So this factors as x plus 1, x plus 2 equals 0. I'm going to apply my zero product property and write two equations set equal to 0 so that I can finish solving them. Subtract the 1 to the other side. So x equals -1. Subtract the 2 to the other side. And x equals -2. And then I also know that x equals 1 from when I did synthetic division the first time. So these are my three solutions of the polynomial. And once again, 0 equals solution equals x-intercept. Another handy trick I learned a long time ago is that you can check if 1 is going to be a solution if you just simply add all of your coefficients, because 1 times anything is just 1. So if you did that, 1 plus 2 is 3, minus 1 is 2, minus 2 is 0. So that's a super easy way that you could eyeball something and know if 1 was going to work or not. Ooh, this one's going to be more challenging. All right. So let's list off my possible factors. So there's my p. P is always goes over the constant, and then q is the leading coefficient. So to list all of your possible factors of this polynomial, we're going to write a ratio of p over q. So p is 28 and q is 2. Never, never, never reduce. It messes the whole darn thing up. So now I'm just going to list out my factors of 28. Plus or minus 1. Plus or minus 2. 4 times 7 is 28. And then the other part of 2 is 14. And 1 times 28. And the factors of 2 are 1 and 2. All right, so now I'm going to have to simplify. So you're going to pair every single term in the numerator with every single term in the denominator. So when you're pairing it with the 1 in the denominator, that's easy. It's just going to be this whole top string. So plus or minus 1, 2, 4, 7, 14, and 28. Now we have to pair every single term in the numerator with the 2. So 1 divided by 2 gives me plus or minus a half. 2 divided by 2, now you can reduce. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and that one is already listed, so we don't need any repeaters here. 4 divided by 2 is 2, already there. 7 divided by 2, that one's not here yet, so that's one of my choices. 14 divided by 2 is 7, that's already represented. And then 28 divided by 2 is 14, and that's already represented. So these are all my possible factors. Let's flip over to Desmos and plug in my equation. 2x to the third plus 7 minus 53 minus 28. All right, so when I look at Desmos, It looks like I can narrow it down to -7. It's probably -1/2. That gets a little baby question mark, and 4. So I need to, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run synthetic division. And I like starting with my positives first. I'm definitely not going to choose 1/2, although it looks like that is a possibility from my list. So it's probably good. All right, do you need filler zeros? No. 2, 7, -53, and -28. Bring your first one down, and then multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. Put your variables back in, so that gives me a 2x squared plus 15x plus 7 equals 0. So once you get it down to quadratic, then you want to make an ACB chart and factor this. I need factors of 14 that add up to 15. So I'm going to use 1 and 14. So this factors x plus 1, x plus 14 equals 0. But my a is 2, so you have to remember to divide both of the numbers by 2 there. So one of your factors is x plus 1/2, and then the other one, that reduces to x plus 7. I know I probably should move this 2 back in front, but I also know that if I leave it like this, it's going to save me a lot of work here in a second. So I'm going to subtract the 1/2 over. So x does equal -1/2. So where it was at the graph, that really was -1/2. X equals -7, and x equals 4. So if it tells you to list all of your solutions, don't forget to go back and get probably your original one. And you try this one on your own. You might want to stop the video and see if you can list the possible factors, enter it in Desmos, and then run synthetic division and factor it. All right, so the p is the 15. There's an invisible 1 in front of x to the 3rd. So there's my q. So my possible factors are p over q. So I'm going to list the factors of 15 on top. I'm going to list the factors of 1 on the bottom. So my factors of 15 are plus or minus 1, 3, 5, 15. And then your factors of 1 are just 1. So when I condense this, all I need to do is just drop it as a fraction. So plus or minus 1, 3, 5, and 15. So these are my possible factors. Obviously, not all of them are going to work. This is just a formula that gives you your possibilities to try to narrow it down. I would flip over to Desmos and plug the equation in to see if I can narrow it down. Next. All right, so when I plug it in Desmos, it looks to me like -1, 3, and 5 are going to be my good solutions. Now let's do synthetic division and prove it. Let's see. I'm going to start with 3 because I like starting with positive numbers first. But granted, you could have started with any one of them and ended up with the same correct answer. All right, so bring your first one down, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. Put your variables in, so that gives me 1x squared minus 4x minus 5 equals 0. So if I want to factor this, I need factors of -5 that add up to -4. So that gives me -5 and 1. So this factors is x minus 5, x plus 1 equals 0. Set your factors equal to 0 and solve. So x does in fact equal 5. X does equal -1. And x also equals 3. So these are my 3 actual solutions of my polynomial. Go try your homework now.